This video and podcast are for informational and educational purposes only and do not constitute medical advice. We partner with Ascension Peptides who supply pharma-grade peptides. Click on the link to learn more.
You know that feeling, right?
Oh, yeah.
It's like 2 PM. You've had the coffee.
Usually 2 coffees by that point.
Right, at least 2 coffees. And you slept okay, or at least you think you got a full 8 hours, but you just hit this absolute wall.
The afternoon crash.
But I don't just mean the kind of, I'm a little sleepy, I could use a stretch wall. I'm talking about that heavy, just deep in your bones exhaustion.
Yeah.
Where your brain feels like it's literally wading through molasses and your limbs feel like lead.
It is the universal complaint. Honestly, in my line of work, it's the single most pervasive issue that comes up.
Really? The most common one?
By far. I am tired all the time. We even have an acronym for it in the medical community now. TATT.
TATT.
Tired all the time. That is how incredibly common it is.
Wow, TATT. I mean, I like the acronym, but I absolutely hate the feeling. And usually if you go to a doctor or look online, the advice is just so standard.
Oh, completely. Sleep more, drink more water.
Are you stressed?
Right. Maybe it's your thyroid. Let's run a basic panel.
Yeah.
And sure, those things definitely matter. We're not dismissing them.
Right. Hydration is good.
Hydration is great. But we dug into this massive stack of research today that suggests for a huge number of people, the problem isn't just that they need a nap or a glass of water.
No, it's so much deeper than that.
It is an energy crisis. Like a literal power outage happening inside the cells themselves.
That is exactly the way to frame it. I mean, we aren't talking about being sleepy because you stayed up late scrolling on your phone. We are talking about cellular bankruptcy. We are looking at the actual engines that keep the lights on in your body. The mitochondria.
Yes.
So welcome, everyone. This is our deep dive into the source material. And today we are going way beyond your typical high school biology class.
Because we all know the meme, right?
Oh, yeah. Mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell.
It is literally the only thing anyone remembers from 9th grade science.
Exactly. It's burned into our brains. But today we are unpacking what actually happens when that powerhouse starts crumbling.
And it does crumble.
It does. And more importantly, we are looking at the absolute frontier of what they are calling mitochondrial medicine.
Which is a fascinating field.
It really is. We're talking about 3 very specific compounds today. SS31, MOTS-c, and this third one with a totally robot-sounding name, SLU-PP332.
It sounds like a license plate.
It does, but these 3 compounds, they promise to repair, rebuild, and recharge the body's power plants.
And just to orient everyone listening, we are pulling this from a very serious stack of source material. This isn't just, internet forum chatter.
Right, exactly.
We have transcripts from board-certified physicians. We've got data from leading peptide experts.
Yeah.
And yes, we have insights from the biohacking community, too.
Which is important for that practical application side.
Absolutely. So we are balancing the high-level medical theory with the actual, in-the-trenches experimentation.
And the mission for this deep dive is to figure out what's real. Is this just hype? Is it dangerous?
Because it can be.
Right. And for you, the person listening right now who just wants to have the energy to play with your kids after work or just go crush a workout without feeling destroyed, is this the answer?
Let's dive right in. But before we get to the solutions, the peptides and the compounds, we really have to understand the problem properly.
Yes, because one of the most striking concepts we found in all the source material was this specific idea of energy bankruptcy.
Right. This came heavily from Dr. Trevor Bachmeyer. He was one of the key sources in our stack.
And he really hammered this home. He basically said we need to reframe our entire concept of disease.
He did.
Yeah.
His argument is that disease is not just, bad luck.
Or just bad genetics.
Exactly. It is, at its absolute core, an energy problem. He used a really powerful comparison in his transcript.
Oh, the athlete and the Alzheimer's patient?
Yes. He said the only fundamental physiological difference between a healthy, thriving 25-year-old athlete and an 85-year-old patient with severe dementia is mitochondrial function.
I mean, that is a huge, bold statement to make.
It is extremely bold. But when you really look at the biology, the cellular biology, it holds up.
How so?
Well, when you strip away all the distinct symptoms of various chronic diseases, what you find at the bottom of the barrel is a failure to produce ATP.
Adenosine triphosphate.
Exactly. ATP is the energy currency of life. Every single thing your body does requires ATP.
So if you run out of ATP...
You don't just get a little tired.
Yeah.
Your cells die. you die.
Wow. And Bachmeier described this specific cascade that leads to this state. He called it the triad of destruction.
Yes. And this is so crucial for everyone listening to understand. It's not just one thing going wrong.
Yeah.
It's three massive failures happening simultaneously.
Okay, let's break those down. First one in the triad.
First is insulin resistance.
Now, people usually just associate that with diabetes.
Right. They think blood sugar. But at the cellular level, insulin resistance is a fuel problem. The cell is literally refusing to let the fuel in.
It's ignoring the instruction.
Exactly. The insulin is knocking on the door saying, hey, I have glucose here, let me in to make energy, and the cell just leaves the deadbolt locked.
Okay, so that's the first failure. The fuel can't get in. What's the second?
Second is systemic inflammation.
Which we hear about all the time. Inflammation is the root of all evil.
Right. But in this context, think of it as the cellular environment literally being on fire. The immune system is completely distracted.
It's overactive.
It's overactive, and it's pulling resources away from normal function to fight these phantom fires all over the body.
Okay, so we have no fuel getting in, and
Yeah.
the house is on fire. What is the third part of the triad?
The ATP shortage itself, the actual power plant, the mitochondria is broken.
And these three things, they aren't isolated, right? They feed into each other.
It is a complete death spiral.
Yeah.
Because think about it, low energy in the cell causes the cell to panic.
Which causes inflammation.
Yes, and then that systemic inflammation breaks the communication pathways, which leads directly to insulin resistance.
Oh, wow. So insulin resistance means no fuel can get in, which means even less energy gets made.
Round and round it goes, down the drain.
And the sources in our research were arguing that modern medicine spends all its time just treating the symptoms of this spiral.
Right. You take ibuprofen to quiet the inflammation.
You take metformin for the insulin resistance.
But we completely ignore the broken power plant in the basement.
Which brings us to the actual solutions. Let's introduce our first character today.
The mechanic.
The mechanic, SS31, also known in the literature as elamipretide.
SS31. Now, this is a peptide, but it is highly unique.
How is it different from other peptides? Because peptides are everywhere right now.
They are. But most peptides work by hitting a receptor on the outside of a cell, like walking up to a house and ringing the doorbell.
Okay, so it sends a signal inside.
Right. But SS31 does not ring the doorbell. It walks right through the front door, goes straight down the stairs into the basement, and starts physically working on the furnace.
I love that visual. So it actually enters the mitochondria.
It does. It resides right in the inner mitochondrial membrane. And to really grasp why it works, you have to visualize the mitochondria not as just a blob from a textbook, but as a complex physical machine.
Like a literal factory.
Exactly. And inside that inner membrane, there is a very specific lipid, a type of fat. It's called cardiolipin.
Cardiolipin.
Yes. Think of cardiolipin as the glue or the structural scaffolding that physically holds the electron transport chain together.
And the electron transport, that's the engine, right?
That is the actual assembly line where the ATP energy is manufactured.
So what happens to this cardiolipin glue?
Well, as we age, or when we are exposed to high oxidative stress, the membrane literally unfolds. It crumbles.
The scaffolding falls apart.
Exactly. The assembly line gets completely misaligned. And when that happens, the electrons that are supposed to be moving neatly down the line to create energy, they start leaking out.
Leaking electrons. That does not sound good.
It is terrible news. Leaking electrons create free radical,
Oh, which causes oxidative stress.
which causes more rust, more damage, and more crumbling of the membrane. It's like a car engine shaking itself loose from its mounts and spraying hot oil all over everything under the hood.
That sounds like a disaster for the cell. So what exactly does SS31 do to fix this?
SS31 physically binds to the cardiolipin. It acts like a structural brace.
So it's not a chemical signal, it's a physical brace.
Exactly. It stabilizes that inner membrane so the assembly line can pull itself back together and line up correctly again.
So it isn't adding any fuel to the fire, it's literally just duct taping the engine block so it stops leaking oil.
Sophisticated duct tape at a molecular level, but yes, that is exactly what it does.
That is wild.
It restores the mechanical efficiency of the electron transport chain. So you get more ATP production, and this is the crucial part, you get drastically less oxidative stress because you aren't leaking those electrons everywhere.
I mean, that sounds incredible. Sign me up right now. But our source material had a pretty big caveat about SS31. They called it a ceiling effect.
Yes, and this is the important reality check for anyone listening. The data we reviewed strongly suggests that SS31 works absolute miracles on damaged mitochondria.
Damaged being the key word.
Right. In the animal models, they looked at heart failure, chronic kidney disease, severe aging models. It beautifully restored function.
Because there was a lot of broken scaffolding to fix.
Exactly. But if you are, say, a healthy 25-year-old who works out, sleeps well, and has pristine cardiolipin,
you probably aren't going to get much out of it.
it's like hiring a highly expensive repair crew to fix a wall that has no cracks in it. The crew shows up, looks around, sees absolutely nothing to do, and leaves.
So healthy individuals might take SS31 and feel absolutely nothing.
Correct. It is a repair tool. It is not a supercharger.
Okay, that makes total sense. So that is the mechanic, SS31, fixing the broken parts. Let's move to the second compound we researched, which honestly felt like the absolute star of the show in our stack of transcripts.
Oh, without a doubt.
They called this one the messenger, MOTS-c.
MOTS-c is deeply fascinating, and the full scientific name is quite a mouthful.
Let me see if I have it here. Mitochondrial open reading frame of the 12S rRNA-C.
Perfect. Yes.
Let's just stick with MOTS-c.
I think everyone prefers MOTS-c. Now, here is what makes this particular peptide so incredibly cool.
Huh.
We all have two distinct sets of DNA in our bodies.
Right.
You have your nuclear DNA, which is the massive instruction manual that makes you who you are, your eye color, your height. And then you have your mitochondrial DNA.
Which you inherit exclusively from your mother, right?
Exactly. The maternal line, MOTS-c, is a 16 amino acid peptide that is encoded specifically in that mitochondrial DNA, not the nuclear DNA.
So it is this very ancient maternal piece of code?
It is. And for a very long time in science, we didn't really think mitochondrial DNA did much of anything outside of the mitochondria itself.
We thought it just stayed in the basement and minded its own business.
Exactly. But it turns out the mitochondria use this DNA to send text messages to the rest of the body.
And Dr. Bachmeyer used that exact analogy in his transcript. He called it a text message.
Because it is the perfect analogy for what they call retrograde signaling.
Retrograde signaling. Break that down for us.
Okay, imagine you are sprinting away from a tiger, or you are fasting for 3 days. Your mitochondria, the power plants, are under massive metabolic stress.
They are running out of coal for the furnace.
Right. They realize, hey, we are running dangerously low on resources down here in the basement. So they synthesize and release MOTS-c.
The distress signal.
Yes. It travels out of the mitochondria all the way to the nucleus of the cell, the main command center, and effectively kicks down the door.
It demands an urgent meeting with the boss.
It acts as a transcription factor. It looked at the nuclear DNA and says, we have a serious situation down below. You need to turn on the metabolism genes right now. Turn on fat burning. We need energy immediately.
Wow. And the specific pathway it triggers, the master switch it flips, is AMPK.
Yes, AMPK. For anyone in the longevity or fitness space, AMPK is the holy grail. It is the body's ultimate energy sensor.
Right, because when you do hard exercise, AMPK goes up.
When you fast, AMPK goes up. When you get in a cold plunge, AMPK goes up. And MOTS-c triggers that exact same pathway. It kicks the door open for AMPK, which then massively upregulates something called PGC1 alpha.
And PGC1 alpha is the driver for what they call mitochondrial biogenesis.
Yes, biogenesis.
You know, making brand new ones.
Exactly. And this is the critical distinction between our first two compounds. SS31 fixes your old, busted mitochondria. MOTS-c signals your body to build brand new, highly efficient factories from scratch.
Which explains exactly why all the sources were calling MOTS-c an exercise mimetic.
It is effectively exercise in a bottle.
I mean, physiologically speaking, your body reacts as if you are working out.
Completely. There was a specific study discussed by Thomas DeLauer in our source materials. He's a huge name in the metabolic health space.
Right, the keto and fasting expert.
Yeah. He broke down this mouse study where they took a group of mice and put them on a high-fat diet.
And not a good high-fat diet. A diet specifically designed to make these mice obese and diabetic.
Right, terrible lab food. But they gave one group of these mice MOTS-c. Even with zero exercise, their bodies responded metabolically as if they were training on a treadmill all day.
And didn't it prevent them from getting fat and diabetic?
It completely protected them. The group that received MOTS-c did not develop insulin resistance despite the terrible diet.
How does it do that if the insulin receptors are blocked?
Because it forces the muscles to uptake glucose through a completely different pathway. It doesn't even need insulin to be present.
So it essentially creates a secret back door to shove the fuel into the muscle.
A total backdoor. It creates an alternative disposal pathway for glucose in the blood.
That is wild. And there was another finding in that section that anyone who lifts weights is going to freak out over.
The myostatin data.
The mitostatin data. It reduced myostatin by 40%.
Yes. Now let's explain myostatin really quick.
It is the thing that stops your muscles from growing endlessly, right?
It is the biological limiter, the brake pedal on muscle growth. If you didn't have myostatin, you would look like one of those freakishly muscular Belgian blue cows.
Right.
Now, the context in the source material is very important here. The researchers weren't looking at this to build Mr. Olympia bodybuilders. They were looking at preventing muscle atrophy, muscle wasting in extreme obesity or old age.
Sure, keeping grandma from losing her muscle mass.
Right, but still, a 40% reduction in myostatin is a massive physiological shift.
It's huge.
It strongly suggests that MOTS-c helps preserve and protect lean tissue even when the body is under severe metabolic stress.
And just naturally, intense exercise can raise your own MOTS-c levels by like 12-fold, right?
Yes, your body makes this naturally when you push it hard. The peptide injection is just a highly concentrated version of that exact same exercise signal.
Okay, so we have the mechanic, SS31. We have the messenger, MOTS-c. Now we have to talk about the third compound in our dive today, and this one sounds a bit more aggressive.
Aggressive is the right word.
The switch flipper, SLU-PP332.
SLU-PP332.
It really does sound like a droid from Star Wars.
It totally does, but this compound is very different from the other two. It is not a naturally occurring peptide. It is a synthetic small molecule.
Okay, synthetic.
And it works by hacking the natural hierarchy of the body.
Walk us through that hierarchy. Let's make sure we understand the steps.
Okay. In a normal, natural situation, you exercise. That physical stress triggers MOTS-c. MOTS-c goes to the nucleus and triggers AMPK.
The master switch.
Right. AMPK then triggers PGC-1 alpha. And then PGC-1 alpha eventually goes down the line and activates a very specific receptor called ER alpha.
Estrogen-related receptor alpha.
Correct. And that final receptor, ERR alpha, is what ultimately drives the new mitochondria and the endurance benefits.
That is a very long chain of command.
It's a chain of command designed with multiple safety checkpoints.
Naturally.
But SLU-PP332 completely skips the entire chain of command.
It just jumps to the end.
It bypasses exercise, bypasses MOTS-c, bypasses AMPK, and it binds directly to ER alpha and turns it on full blast.
So it's completely cutting out the middleman.
It is effectively hot wiring the master switch for massive fat burning and endurance, bypassing all of the body's natural regulatory steps.
And the animal studies on this were insane, weren't they?
The results in mice are absolutely wild. Massive, measurable increases in physical endurance. It physically switched their muscle fibers from fast twitch to slow twitch endurance types. Huge amounts of fat burning.
I feel a very big but coming here.
There is a very big but.
When you chemically bypass natural safety regulations and hotwire a system, usually there is a price to pay.
There is a profound theoretical price. And our sources were extremely careful to highlight this nuance. Dr. Ashley Froese specifically spent time pointing this out in her analysis.
What was her concern?
Well, ERR alpha is not just found in your skeletal muscles. It is found in any cell that is incredibly energy hungry.
And what else in the human body is an energy hungry cell?
Cancer.
Oof, yeah.
Tumors have massive, almost insatiable metabolic demands, the Warburg effect.
Right.
So Dr. Froese's concern is this. What if you have an underlying microscopic cancer somewhere in your body that you don't even know about yet?
Oh, wow.
And then you take a synthetic compound that systematically maximizes fuel delivery to all energy-hungry cells via ERR alpha.
You could theoretically pour gasoline on a tumor.
You could theoretically fuel rapid tumor growth.
That is a terrifying thought.
It is a sobering thought. Now, we have to remain objective and balanced here because there are counter-arguments in our source stack.
Right. We want to look at all sides.
Dr. Bachmeier, for instance, argued that regarding mitochondrial optimization in general, like with MOTS-c, improving mitochondrial function actually fights cancer.
Because cancer thrives in broken environments.
Exactly. Cancer loves a broken, inflamed, low-oxygen metabolic environment. So fixing the mitochondria could theoretically inhibit cancer growth.
Okay, so there is a real debate there.
There is. But specifically regarding SLU-PP332, because it is synthetic and hits that final receptor so aggressively, the caution is absolutely warranted.
It really highlights that the specific molecule is on the bleeding edge of science. We do not have 20 years of human safety data on SLU PP332.
We barely have any. It is highly experimental.
Okay, so we have these incredibly powerful tools, but here is the part of the research that I found the most valuable for our listeners today.
Because people want to take this stuff.
Exactly. I know for a fact there is someone listening to this right now who is pulling out their credit card, opening a new tab, and trying to buy MOTS-c.
Wait. Just wait.
Exactly. Put the card away and wait. Because there is a biological phenomenon we uncovered in the research called muted engagement.
Yes. This comes directly from Dr. James in our source stack, and it is a brilliant, crucial insight into why people take these expensive peptides and absolutely nothing happens.
He talked about the pet rat phenomenon, didn't he?
He did. The pet rat, wink, wink.
Right, because people buy these online for research purposes only.
Right. I gave this to my pet rat, and people go on forums and report, hey, I took MOTS-c for a month, and I felt completely nothing. My rat felt nothing.
So why does it fail? If it's this miraculous exercise in a bottle, why do some people get zero results?
Because of the environment of the body.
Explain this muted engagement theory.
Okay, imagine your body is a house.
Okay.
If the house is currently on fire, meaning you have high systemic inflammation, and you have absolutely no money in your bank account, meaning you are chronically sleep deprived.
The triad of destruction again.
Exactly. So your house is on fire and you're broke, and suddenly someone rings the doorbell, hands you some blueprints, and says, hey, great news. Let's build a brand new extension on the house today.
Which is what MOTS-c is doing.
Right. MOTS-c is that person at the door. What do?
You ignore them. You're trying to put out the fire in the kitchen.
Exactly. You ignore the signal. MOTS-c is an efficiency signal. It tells the body, go faster, build more, burn energy. But if the body is deeply entrenched in survival mode, it interprets that signal completely differently.
It goes into power-saving mode.
Yes. It actually mutes the engagement of the peptide to protect you.
So you could literally inject the most expensive, high-quality peptide in the world, and if you are highly inflamed and sleep-deprived, your body just throws the signal in the trash.
Or worse. It might actually make you feel flatter and more exhausted because your body is actively fighting back against the artificial demand for energy expenditure.
Wow. There was an actual checklist in the notes for this, the prerequisite checklist. Things you have to fix before you even think about these peptides.
Yes. 2 massive hurdles. First, inflammation.
Specifically tracking CRP, right? C-reactive protein.
Yes. If your blood work shows high CRP, it means your body is fiercely protecting its energy stores to fuel the immune system's fight against whatever is causing the inflammation.
It won't release those stores just so you can have a better workout.
It absolutely will not. The immune system gets priority over your bicep curls every single time.
Makes total sense. And the second prerequisite on the checklist was sleep apnea.
Oh, this was fascinating.
Vigorous Steve, one of the biohacking sources we analyzed, brought some data on this that completely blew my mind.
The numbers are startling. If you have untreated sleep apnea, your natural endogenous levels of MOTS-c drop by something like 70 to 80%.
70 to 80% drop. That is massive.
Think about what is happening. You are essentially suffocating multiple times a night. Your blood oxygen drops precipitously.
Your body thinks it's dying.
Your mitochondria are in total panic mode. You simply cannot out-supplement a fundamental breathing problem.
Right. If you aren't breathing and sleeping, no magic vial of liquid from the internet is going to fix your cellular energy crisis.
Not a chance.
There was also a study mentioned about diet interaction with MOTS-c.
Right. One of the trials showed that MOTS-c actually worked significantly better when paired with a good nutrient-dense diet compared to a bad one.
Which seems obvious, but it's contrary to how most pharmaceutical drugs work, isn't it?
It is. Most drugs, like a statin or a blood pressure med, are designed to just brute force mask your bad habits. You eat garbage, you take the pill, the number goes down.
But peptides don't work like that.
No.
Okay.
Because they are signaling molecules. They require the proper raw materials in the body to actually execute the signal.
It all comes back to the order of operations. Repair signals first, fuel signals second, output signals third.
Yes. And MOTS-c is strictly an output signal.
Meaning you have to earn the right to use it?
Exactly. You earn the right to use the output signal by fixing the internal environment first.
Okay, let's get into the real nitty-gritty here. Section 6. Practical protocols and the dark side. Because if someone listening is healthy, their CRP is low, they sleep well, and they do decide to go down this experimental road, it is not all sunshine and rainbows.
No, it is not. We need to have a serious talk about the side effects.
Specifically, the injection site reactions. The descriptions in the transcripts were so vivid.
They were. Vigorous Steve went into intense detail on this from his own experience in coaching. MOTS-c is absolutely notorious for tissue irritation.
He used phrases like credit card-sized welt and cellulitis like red patch.
Yes. It can be incredibly caustic to the subcutaneous tissue. You inject it in your belly fat, and a few hours later, you get this massive, red-hot, profoundly itchy patch that literally looks like a severe staph infection.
And it can last for days, right?
Days, sometimes a week.
And that is just the mild reaction. That's just the annoyance.
That's just local inflammation. The real danger, the dark side we have to warn people about, is anaphylactic shock.
Which is immediately life-threatening.
Throat closing up, tongue swelling, massive sudden drop in blood pressure. There are documented reports in the community of this happening with MOTS-c.
Why does it happen?
It's a peptide. It's an amino acid sequence. Your immune system can sometimes look at it, decide it's a foreign invader, and launch a nuclear strike against it.
Especially if someone uses a huge dose or accidentally injects it into a vein instead of the fat tissue.
Exactly. Which connects directly to the dosing discussion in our sources.
What?
Because in the gym world and the biohacking world, there is always this inherent more is always better mentality.
Oh, totally. If 1 milligram is good, 10 milligrams will turn me into Superman.
And with peptides, especially MOTS-c, more is incredibly dangerous and counterproductive.
So what was the consensus from the safe medical sources on dosing?
Microdosing. Finding the minimum effective sweet spot. We're talking about maybe 1 milligram injected more frequently rather than taking massive 5 or 10 milligram bolus doses once a week.
Just to avoid overwhelming the immune system and getting those massive welts?
Right. And you also have to incorporate cycling. You cannot take this every single day forever.
Because of receptor desensitization.
Yes. Think of it like a fire alarm. If you yell, fire, continuously, 24 hours a day for a month, eventually people stop listening and go back to sleep.
The cells deafen themselves to the signal.
The receptors downregulate. So the recommendation is to pulse it. Use it for maybe 4 to 6 weeks, and then you must take time off.
To let your natural endogenous receptors reset and clear out.
Exactly. Let the body return to homeostasis.
Now, I have to bring up the controversy we found in the extra transcripts. The Battle of the Strack.
Ah, yes, the order of operations debate. This is a big one.
So Dr. Bachmeyer has a very specific and somewhat controversial view on whether you should take SS31 or MOTS-c first if you are going to use both.
It is the ultimate chicken or the egg debate in mitochondrial medicine.
Okay, lay out the conventional wisdom first. What do most people say?
Conventional logic says you take some mechanic first, SS31.
Fix the broken parts.
Right. Send the mechanic into the basement, fix the broken cardiolipin scaffolding, stop the electron leaks, and stabilize the factory. Then once the machine is working safely, you turn it on high speed with MOTS-c.
That sounds completely logical to me.
It does. It makes perfect intuitive sense. But Bachmeyer argues the exact opposite.
What's his argument?
His argument is, why would you spend time and resources optimizing a piece of junk?
Wow.
If your mitochondria are, cellularly speaking, 80 years old, highly mutated and decrepit. Fixing them with SS31 just gives you slightly better, highly mutated, old mitochondria.
He wants to demolish the factory and build a new one.
Exactly. His protocol is, you take MOTS-c first, you trigger massive mitochondrial biogenesis.
Build a fleet of brand new, fresh factories.
Yes. And at the same time, the body clears out the old broken ones through a process called mitophagy, basically cellular recycling.
Oh, so you force the body to replace the bad ones with new ones.
And then once you have this beautiful, fresh fleet of new mitochondria, you use SS31 to protect them and keep them perfectly pristine.
It's the difference between spending 10 grand restoring a rusted-out 1990 Honda Civic versus just buying a brand new car and putting a really good coat of wax on it.
That is the exact analogy. And honestly, it is a very compelling argument. But frankly, which path you take likely depends entirely on the condition of the person.
How so?
Well, if you are a patient in active heart failure, your cells are dying right now. You might need SS31 immediately just to survive and stop the leaking electrons.
You don't have time to build a new factory.
Right. But if you are a generally healthy 40-year-old optimizing for longevity and performance, maybe the Bachmeyer build new ones approach is far superior.
And people stack these with other things too, right? The sources mentioned synergistic compounds.
Yes. 2 big ones kept coming up. First was methylene blue.
Which is that blue dye that turns your tongue blue.
Exactly. Methylene blue acts as an electron donor in the electron transport chain. So if you pair that with SS31, you're physically repairing the membrane, and simultaneously giving the engine the exact electrons it needs to run perfectly.
Very cool. And the other one was retatrutide.
Yes. Now, retatrutide is the absolute newest generation of the weight loss peptides. It's a triple agonist, GLP-1, GIP, and glucagon.
So taking the extreme fat loss signaling of retatrutide and pairing it with the mitochondrial biogenesis of MOTS-c.
It creates a total, fundamental metabolic overhaul. The fat loss and energy restoration would theoretically be staggering.
Again, bleeding-edge science here. Speaking of longevity, let's zoom in for Section 7. Because this isn't just about gym performance or biohacking fat loss, there is a fascinating genetic connection we found regarding the Japanese population.
The Japanese longevity paradox. This is where the science gets really profound.
Break it down for us.
Researchers were looking at why certain populations in Northeast Asia, particularly in Japan, live so incredibly long and stay so healthy into old age, and they found a specific polymorphism.
A genetic variation.
Yes, a genetic variation directly in their mitochondrial DNA.
And it connects back to MOTS-c.
The variation makes them genetic superproducers of endogenous MOTS-c.
You've got to be kidding.
No. Even when they're just sitting around not sprinting on a treadmill, their bodies are receiving a constant, steady, low-level signal from their mitochondria.
A signal that says, stay efficient, keep burning fat, process this glucose quickly.
Exactly. And the leading hypothesis now is that this specific MOTS-c superproduction contributes massively to their extreme health span.
And health span is really the key word there, isn't it?
It is the only word that matters.
Because we aren't just talking about living to be 100, but spending the last 20 years in a nursing home bed.
Right. In the animal studies we reviewed, when they gave older mice MOTS-c, the actual total lifespan increase was fairly modest, maybe 4 to 7% longer life.
So it isn't an immortality serum.
It's not. But the health span effects, the quality of those final years, were incredibly dramatic.
The sources noted that the older mice on MOTS-c were physically moving and acting like young juvenile mice.
Yes. They'd had vastly better balance, they had increased grip strength, their motor coordination was completely preserved.
And for an elderly human, grip strength and coordination are literally the difference between life and death.
Precisely. For an 80-year-old, the event that usually precipitates the end of life is a fall.
They lose their balance, fall, and break a hip.
And then they're bedridden, they lose their muscle mass, pneumonia sets in, and it's over. If you preserve motor coordination and balance through mitochondrial health, you prevent the fall.
You maintain their independence.
It is not just about living longer. It is about not being frail.
Which brings us to a huge philosophical debate in our research stack regarding the exercise mimetic aspect of MOTS-c.
Is it cheating?
Exactly. Is taking a peptide to get the benefits of exercise cheating?
The perspective really depends on who is asking the question.
Right, because there was a note about the World Anti-Doping Agency, WADA.
Yes, this is a very important data point. As of 2025, WADA has officially placed MOTS-c on their prohibited banned substances list for competitive athletes.
Which, if you think about it, is basically the ultimate Yelp review for a compound.
It really is.
Yeah.
If it was just snake oil and didn't actually do anything, WADA wouldn't waste their time banning it. By putting it on the list, they are officially acknowledging that it provides a massive, measurable performance advantage.
It is a giant neon signal that says, this stuff actually works.
It does. But to your question, is it cheating? For an Olympic sprinter trying to shave a tenth of a second off their time? Yes, absolutely.
But what about regular people?
That's the nuance. For an able-bodied person who just wants to sit on the couch and eat potato chips while a peptide does the work,
Yeah.
it's a crutch.
But for someone who cannot exercise.
Exactly. Think about a grandfather recovering from surgery, or someone bedridden with a chronic illness, or someone with severe arthritis who simply cannot put a load on their joints to trigger AMPK naturally.
For them, this isn't a biohack to win a medal. It's a lifeline.
It is a profound medical lifeline to prevent metabolic collapse and severe muscle atrophy when they physically cannot do the work themselves.
That is a really beautiful way to look at it. So let's wrap this massive deep dive up.
It's been a journey.
We have covered the big three today. The mechanic, SS31, fixing the broken parts.
The messenger, MOTS-c, telling the body to build new factories and burn fuel.
And the switch flipper, SLU PP332, hot wiring the end of the chain, but with some very serious cautions regarding cellular growth.
What do you think is the biggest overarching takeaway from all these transcripts?
For me, it's that the health first rule is absolutely unbreakable. These aren't magic pills for a trash lifestyle.
No. You cannot supplement your way out of bad habits. Systemic inflammation and sleep apnea must be addressed first, or the peptides simply will not work.
You have to put the fire out before you build the extension on the house.
Exactly. If your mitochondria are sending you distress signals right now, if you have that brain fog, that heavy fatigue, that weakness, you have to start listening to them. Stop just drowning the alarm bells out with more caffeine.
Which leads perfectly to the final provocative thought we want to leave everyone with today.
Let's hear it.
Based on everything we've read, if the fundamental difference between youth and frailty is largely just mitochondrial function, and we are right now, in real time, finding the literal molecular code to rewrite that function.
Peptides.
Right. Are we finally moving away from the era of simply treating disease and entering an era where we can actually engineer health from the cellular level up?
It really is a brave new world in medicine.
It truly is. Thanks for diving deep into the science with us today. We'll see you all in the next one.
Stay curious, everyone.